Good afternoon, everyone. You're here with us live on the Man United agenda for the reaction show at the march that was the Ellen Road pitch. Stay with us for this one. Well, everyone, the conditions at Ellen Road Ward challenging for both teams, I think is fair to say, especially towards the start of the second half. We did start to see the ball movement being restricted by the pooling of the water. But I think, Carl, you were saying behind screen that there was snow there yesterday that affected the surface.
Yeah, snow would have played, but so there was some snow because I'm good from Huddersfield, so I'm like 30 minutes from Leeds, so there was snow around that area the last 24 hours because due to the storm units as well, because that had an effect as well. So I think it was playing a part of that one, just with the pitch being a little bit more softer than we had before. The last season we didn't have our pitch was so bad we didn't even have a drainage system, but we do, but it could have been a little bit better handled.
Connor, anything to add to that?
I mean, you could see how it affected the game. Like, we like to play slick, quick-moving football, and I'm sure that's the ideal for you guys as well. But it just wasn't happening, and that can take a while to adjust. You got to put a bit extra oomph into your passes, and that can drain everyone.
Absolutely.
Apart from the pitch, clearly.
I suppose, it's like a Sunday league pitch, isn't it? I mean, during the first half, Rebel contacted me and said, it's waterlogged. There's something going on here, And I was watching, I was thinking, no, it can't be. It must be the wind, I can't believe that a Premiership side with the great pitches they have, when you turn up these stadiums, it's like carpet, I thought, no way. Then maybe they've wet the pitch, it's slick. It will be slicker, if anything, not waterlogged. And then after minutes later, I'm watching carefully, and you're like you guys are saying, it really was slowing up the ball. And a couple of passes, you really had to put a little oomph into them to ensure they reach the target. And I think, oh God, this is crazy. But I think the referee was fair because with the pitch, you have to take the conditions into account. And rather than sort of booking everyone, for every little tackle, it was hard. You see a couple of times when Wan-Bissaka went to ground, and then McTominay came in, and the ball wasn't going anywhere, and everyone was sort of piling in like it was like.
I think that was the saving grace for Scott McTominay, because if the pitch wasn't an excuse, there was a couple of times he could have got 2 or 3 yellow cards. I think
we go on to that.
Yeah.
I suppose it was your typical game of two halves. Maybe even the second half, you could say it was a game of two halves in its own right. But let's cut into the nuts and bolts of today's fixture. Was there anybody missing for you, Connor, to start with?
Yes. Yeah. So the whole nucleus of our team really is still out. Bamford was missing, who's 17 goals last season. That's indispensable. Calvin Phillips, the anchor man of our team, he helps defensively and going forward with his spray and passes out wide. And our captain has been out. Whether Liam Cooper would be playing anyway, because Pascal Struijk's been doing pretty well for a young lad. But having your captain missing is a massive loss. And obviously Rafinha starting on the bench.
Which was just a complete surprise.
If our captain was missing, a lot of our fans say it wouldn't be a loss. But there you go. That's the
I suppose then from the United perspective, we had the return to a starting 11 for Jesse Lingard. Aaron Wan-Bissaka returned instead of Dalot, and Varane was benched. Obviously, Randy keeping an eye maybe on that Champions League fixture in Wednesday and looking to keep things fresh for certain players who have been playing a lot of games off the back of each other. But essentially, so we started off this game and there was a pivotal moment midway through the first half. He lost Cook to a head collision with Scott McTominay. It seemed like he had a skull full of steel, the way that he came off from it. They tried to play him on, but he went down a few minutes later. And the interesting call on this one, and I'm going to throw it over to you, is that you didn't opt to call it a concussion sub. Take me through that.
I'm seeing it now on Twitter. Bielsa's doing his post-match press conference. He came off because of the cut and not because of the knock. So that's why they didn't actually use the concussion sub in the end.
Gotcha. So it was specifically because of the blood that was coming from the cut rather than him being dizzy. Because they did allude to it in the live commentary that he seemed to be
he was doing. You could see him doing that, meaning like pulsing, his vision's going.
Vision's going, yeah.
From what Bielsa said, it's because of the cut, not the knock.
Can I need some help? I need some help here, guys. Sorry to cut you. Can someone explain to me the concussion sub rule, please? Because I'm not familiar with that. Does anyone know what that encounters? I can work it out, but I want you to explain if possible.
I think it's an extra substitute almost. So because there has been a rise in concussion injuries or head injuries in the last couple of years, they've brought it in so it doesn't count as one of your 3 substitutes. But if you are to use it, the other team then also get an extra substitute on top of their 3.
Thank you.
Exactly.
I don't like pretend I know. I would say, concussion sub. What does it mean? Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I suppose then I'm going to throw this back to you, Carl. Shortly afterwards, you did think that it took you a while to settle. You did concede your first goal. So I suppose give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we after that situation, we kind of felt like if you're not marking the right player, such as Maguire, you know you're in for a bit of trouble. And I think Llorente did not look up and see the ball where the ball was going to be placed, and that is the downside with the cost of our set pieces. And there was no communication at all between to tell Llorente look up because the keeper did not call it out. So I think when you have Ronaldo and Maguire in that 6-yard box in the corner, you don't know which one it's going to be. You think it's going to be more Ronaldo trying to get the opportunity, but it was unexpected Maguire. But I think Llorente should have done better. He was one who was marking him, and he should have been better concentrating with the defense of where the ball was going to be placed, rather than the defender, the opposition player himself. So that was a downside again with our defense set pieces.
Absolutely. I suppose I'm going to throw this one to Monday because he is a big advocate for Harry Maguire here at the Man United agenda. But I do want to mention the pace and direction of the ball that was whipped in by Luke Shaw. It provided the first decent opportunity we've had for scoring from, hold your breath now, a corner, a set piece during this season. We have had very few of them. So Monday, talk about your man Harry Maguire.
First of all, like I say, it's great to get a goal from a corner. We've been trying all sorts of things. We've been going for short corners recently. We've obviously been working on things to mix it up. I think the main issue is that we haven't been sort of delivering it in the right area. And this is just perfect. To get that in the 6-yard box, away from the keeper. I think it beat a first man and maybe the defender was blinded a little bit. But not just that. Who is it? Llorente was marking Maguire, was it?
Yeah, he was focusing more on Maguire than the ball coming in.
What's his first? I think his first name's Claude, isn't it? Because Maguire clawed him in his face and got a header in. Yeah, so
listen,
Claude,
if I can just add in, I wasn't aware of your poor record at scoring from set pieces until I was watching on Sky Sports, and they brought it up just as it happened, and I went right.
It was exactly there.
We're going to concede from this corner, and lo and behold, Maguire was there to put it in.
What can I just ask? What are you like on corners usually? Are you usually quite good on corners?
Awful.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
So it was going to happen. It was a commentator's curse, I think, that was the one. As soon as they brought it up, it was going to go straight in.
But just here we go again. I'm just going to talk about this quickly. I want Harry Maguire to improve. We've seen errors in his game lately, where he's made a lot of errors this season, mistakes, and you can point them out. You can say to him, "Well, he's done that wrong. He's done that wrong." It's not like thing. So after a while, when people got in his back, he's not going to improve. It's going to be a lot of pressure on him. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't like that. I'd rather say he needs to improve in this area rather than say he's SHIT or he shouldn't be playing or he shouldn't be captain. All these things. I just think try to help the man improve. Just try and point these things out. You look at the positive of his game, and that was one of the positives today. He's actually scored. He scores for England all the time. He scored from a set piece with his big head today and got in there, and he was delighted. He must be delighted, and I think the fans cheering. You got to get behind the guy. He played a better game today as well. Was trying to cut out those mistakes. He was up against it. They are playing a high line against Leeds. We are playing a high line in general. So he needs to adapt his game. Obviously, there's a new system in place, and I'm really happy with his performance today. He wasn't outstanding, but to get the goal, it's like gives the fans something to think about, and maybe they should change their attitude and start to rather we see faults, but it's the way we approach it, and rather than disrespect him all the time, just get behind him. He will score goals. He will step up sometimes, and I think he's got a lot of thick skin because he's been through so much throughout his career. A lot of negativity, slab head, incidents outside of football. Big pressure, £80 million signing. It's all we hear. So it's good to see him score. I'm really delighted for him.
I suppose the next area that I'm going to come on to is there was a stat that came up again on Sky that there was the two keepers that actually have the most saves in the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, our guy, David De Gea, and your own Melier has the most shots saved in the entire season. And I suppose from our point of view, that's very concerning. And no doubt now, as you look at your league position after this game, you'll be hoping that he maintains his form in terms of the amount of targets that he's preventing from entering the goal. But is he very crucial to what you hope to achieve for the remainder of the season, do you think, based on that statistic?
Yeah, I think so, especially because he's only 21 years old. I think for him to be starting in a Premier League team at 21 years old it's a massive thing. Like, look at the age of the other keepers that start in the Premier League. But it's just because we're so open. Yeah. We're so open defensively, and he's been crucial.
Absolutely. And I suppose before I throw it over to you, the other thing I wanted to bring up is it was great to see the live football atmosphere kind of coming back to normal. It is an intense rivalry. A lot of people don't remember Manchester United versus Leeds, and this is the first visit to Ellen Road with a crowd. So I just wanted to throw what that adds to an occasion where there's two teams that are bitter rivals.
Go on, Carl. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, it's interesting. After when you were not playing each other for like 18 years, which was our last Premier League game with regards at Ellen Road, I think it was a huge occasion, and I think no matter how many fans are there, they're there to for that, to make sure that atmosphere is going to be hostile, and it was hostile to start with. And I think when you guys took the lead, to 2.5 half time, it did die down a bit. And I think after we made the subs and so forth, I think they actually changed back. But I think during the intervals again, it did slowly die down. But it depends what the atmosphere is. The Leeds fans, some of the Leeds fans will still keep going. They'll still keep going. But I think sometimes when you know if it's going to be a tough day, the Leeds fans will still be behind the team no matter what.
Absolutely. I suppose we'll just briefly mention the second goal, the Bruno Fernandes goal. Was that a worry for you that that Bielsa wouldn't be able to fire up the troops to come back in the second half? We will go through everything that happened in the second half after we have our own halftime, and then Monday goes through some comments. But what was the thought after the second United goal for you?
I think if we went in at 1-0, then it would be easier to turn things around. But because it was just before half time as well, wasn't it? So conceding a goal before half time, whether it's 1-0, 2-0, whatever it is, it's a massive blow, and you're going to go in feeling down.
Yeah, and Bielsa had no choice. He had to make some changes. I think because not having Rafinha on at the start of the game was very surprising. I know he's been out of form, but this was a big game for him to try to make a change. And I think coming at half time did somehow start that mini change for us for doing that in that space of 2 or 3 minutes of the game of the second half.
Absolutely. Okay, so on Monday, there is some fiery comments in the chat, but let's take us through some of the more sanitized ones there, if you will.
It started. I mean, there's a troublemaker in the house. Not a troublemaker, but Bath Times in the house. He's making me laugh. Pat Lawless is also here. He says his genius, Ralph Subs, changed the game. I mean, even Gary Neville, I think, was on commentary saying Pogba's been the most creative player on the pitch. But with Fred, he had the guy, he was willing to make those extra runs. in behind, and that's how he got his goal. A really good finish with his left foot as well. He scored against you open day of the season as well, I remember, didn't he? So,
He did, yeah.
Fred was up for this game, and that was a good performance by him. There's a lot of talk here about the Leeds fans not happy with them. There's a few incidents, coin throwing, all that kind of thing that the guys are talking about. But on the whole, about the rain, they were saying, Bath Times saying about the pitch should be better than that, shouldn't be waterlogged. Let's have a look here. Here we go. This is observation here. Box is bigging up Lindelof. Played really well today, I thought. Obviously, I was just going to bring this on to the second goal that we scored. We didn't really go through it. Lindelof picked up the ball on the right-hand side of the fence, played a 1-2 with Sancho, who was on around the halfway line, and started to march into there was an open space for him to drive into. Drove into the area, played another pass off to Sancho, who used the wind. By this point in the game, he's sort of sussed how to work the wind out and all that kind of thing, and dinked the ball over for Bruno to score. Earlier on, your keeper made a really good save with his feet to Ronaldo, I believe. It was almost a tap-in. But this is why I keep reiterating about these passes across the 6-yard box. You scored one with James. He passed the ball across the 6-yard box. It's so difficult for defenders to deal with. We might criticise Shaw and all that kind of thing, but those balls are tough. But I think when it's floated like that, I think the defender maybe had a chance to get there in front of Bruno, but Bruno attacked it and obviously scored a good goal there. So Lindelof, gets a lot of credit for that goal there. Maybe they were talking about McTominay as well. Saying McTominay was immense in there. He's good in these sort of games with rough and tumble. Would you call it a rough and tumble game? It's almost like that.
You could say that, especially going against Forshaw as well. So
is Forshaw your sort of tough guy? He
was. He was for today's game. He was very much on Fernandes' face as well as McTominay's face as well. So he was giving some
Phillips for us. So there's some big shoes to fill there.
A question for the guest from Mark Edmond, all the way from Australia, said, remember what you said about Sancho? Please comment. What did you guys say about Sancho?
That he had a lot to live up to with the price tag.
Yes.
Okay. Is that right? That's nothing. Yeah, he's a good player, though. Don't you agree? Is he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I never said he was awful. I just said he had a lot of pressure on him with the price million, whatever it was.
The price tag.
SHAH United, he goes to all our home games. Find his thing. He says James really suits Leeds head down run. Leeds look a shadow of the form from last season. So, do you want to respond to that?
What did you make of Dan James coming back? Well, back. It was Ellen Road.
I'm going to ask. I'm going to throw this to Rebel in a sec, but I'll just say Dan James is a threat. Like I was saying in the last show and on the preview show with you guys, I thought obviously with his pace, once he matches his IQ with his pace, it'd be more effective. But he's finished great. Made a great ball. He got a yard. I think on the 6-yard box, got a yard on either two defenders and crossed the ball with his left foot, and it was easy pickings. I mean, it fed him really well there. Overall, I think. I just think he needs to sort of conserve his runs, be a bit more intelligent about his runs. Because as you saw there, 1-on-1, he can get a yard on anybody. And I just think it's all about intelligence. These are the frustrations we had as fans watching him. If he could sort of balance his pace and be a bit more effective and do it at the right times and don't leave things late. Because sometimes when you've got so much pace, you think, I'll wait, and then I'll go. Like you don't need to do that. If you could time things a bit better, he'd be really more effective. But I think he's been great for you, and I thought he was decent today, just decent. But with the assist, that's Rebel. What do you think, Dan James?
I suppose we'll go into him a bit more during the second half. But yeah, he was a player that always had you can tell he's a bit of a threat about him. You get the ball to his feet, and he's running at you. Especially if you don't like to be run at, you're in trouble. And we are starting to see under Bielsa that he is getting that kind of whipped ball. He's getting the crossing down a bit more. It seems to be getting a bit more accurate as he goes forward. So I think he's a big asset. And when you get your Bamfords and the rest of your team back, you'll probably be kind of just saying ta-ra to the relegation zone and moving back into the kind of safety of the mid-table for this season and looking to build in it next season. So I definitely think he'll help you over the course of the season. But that does bring us to the second half. You started straight away with a tactical substitution. You brought on young Gerlhurt, I think is how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And basically, he looked to set a tone in the second half. Now, Rodrigo could probably be classed as being very, very fortunate with his goal. And I'm going to let you have your say on it now in a minute. But it looked like it was a botched cross rather than a shot. But give us your views. And obviously, that was the catalyst for what ensued after.
I mean, yeah, in the start of the second half, I think every Leeds fan was calling for changes to be made.
Yeah.
Rafinha came on with an anger sort of thing because he'd been dropped. He hadn't had the best performances in the last two games, so he had a point to prove. Everyone who's a Leeds fan wants Joe Gellert to play more. And I mean, for a 18, 19-year-old, I think you can agree that there's something there. But Rodrigo was absolutely lucky with a freak goal. You could see the corner flag bending, how much there was so much wind there. So I think that played a massive part because it was definitely a cross for Rafinha, that one.
Absolutely. And then, obviously, I'm going to throw the second goal over to our other Leeds correspondent. Obviously, chaos ensued. United were a bit punch drunk, and he came at us again, and you got the equaliser.
We got the equaliser, which led was question was Forshaw tackle on Fernandes was a foul, and we looked at it again. Maybe some people say it was. I had a few colleagues from my own workplace say today that it was. He kind of won the ball. There was kind of nothing into it, in my opinion, what I saw. But the way we just attacked for the second goal, you can see that when your defenders were not ready for that opportunity because they thought the referee gave the player off, see what was going to happen, and then we all know if VAR was going to check it. But there was nothing offside, and you can see that the response there for the second goal was huge for Leeds and for us, and to get us back in the game. We didn't expect there was going to be a lot of goals today, but. Boy, it was interesting how the first 2-3 minutes of the game we just made a complete turnaround. After we just were poor towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, I think the first 20 minutes of that second half was more like the Leeds of last season.
Perfect. I suppose, and you may or may not agree with me on this one. Did the conditions help make sure that foul wasn't given? Because on a dry day, there might be more argument for the impact that Forshaw would have had on the situation, whereas there was a lot of mitigating circumstances with the pitch conditions that it was a bit of both ends rather than being an actual foul.
I don't think it was a foul in any game, to be honest.
No.
I think Fernandes is a very theatrical player. We saw it early on in the first half as well.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it was just a tackle where, it was nothing need to be made of it, really.
Yeah. It was absolutely nothing. I didn't see there was nothing radical from Forshaw. Forshaw is not a dirty player who tackles like that. He's actually very clean. So he actually did see the ball was going to be slick, and especially with the pitch, if it's slick as well, no matter how bad the pitch is, it's still a fair challenge.
Got you.
Wait, Rebel. Before we go on, we've had the view from the Leeds fans. What do you think about that tackle? Do you think it was a goal? I mean, we've had time to analyse it. What do you reckon?
Well, I had the benefit of being able to rewind the action when I was watching the game, and there was a bit of deliberation, so I did flick it back over in a bit. And to be honest with you, there wasn't a whole lot there that you'd say, yes, it's a clear overturning. Where at the same time, if he'd given the foul initially, you probably would have said VAR again would have had a difficult job to say there's a clear and obvious error. So I suppose the initial decision basically defined the outcome of the review, because there wasn't a whole either way to say there was a big error in the decision of the ref. So I think it would have been harsh to have given it on the basis of what I saw. But at the same time, I don't think you'd be arguing the toss of the coin if it went the other way with the initial viewing.
Yeah, I think with the flow of the game, and like you say, with the conditions and the energy in the game as well, I think that it shouldn't have been a foul. The ref was right. And they did review it as well, didn't they? And I think sometimes what I rate about Bruno, he's aware of who's coming at him, so he's ready, waiting for contact, sometimes. And then this time he's sort of outdone a bit because he did get contact, even though he gets his body in front of the ball in a way. The guy timed it so well that you can't really, this would get energy in the game. If this was like in Spain, they would have been, that would have been a foul, maybe a yellow card or something stupid like that. But we saw today that making it 2-2, that was massive. And I think at that point in time, once you were up, I mean, we could see the 2 goals in a couple of minutes, and the fans were up. Everyone was buzzing. And at this stage, I'm sure you guys were buzzing too. It was on, game on. Let's go.
Yeah. Listen, I thought at that point we were going to go on to win it. I can't lie. I thought I thought the game had turned. The crowd was incredible at that point, and I thought you were rattled. To be honest, I thought your defense were rattled, but there we go.
I just want to actually highlight a comment, and actually, I think I said this to you on Monday during the game. Wan-Bissaka played a hospital pass to Bruno in that build-up. Yeah. He basically gave Bruno a difficult time to clear his lines, and obviously that created the opportunity for the Leeds equaliser. That being said, though, enter the Madrista Ralph Rangnick, and he made a super sub, one that thankfully our boss Solo isn't around to blow his trumpet on. Super Fred is introduced to the situation. On Monday, talk about Super Fred's goal.
All right, just before I talk about the goal, like I say, at the time, I thought Pogba was playing really well, controlling the game, bossing it. Do you see that move when Ronaldo should have scored, where he played it across the 6-yard box? He stood up the guy one-on-one, chop, and went through and passed across the 6-yard box. And also as well, when he had the ball, he was brushing off guys, really skillful. And I remember thinking during the game, man, 6'3", tall, rangy, strong. Why can't he be as effective as Yaya Toure and Vieira and that sort of thing? But today he was showing that. He reminded me of those 2 guys, but just not as consistent maybe over the course of time. But the goal, I thought it was a bit odd. I was wondering who's Fred going to come on, because you remember it was like 62 minutes. Then we saw them on the touchline. It wasn't until 65 minutes they came on the pitch. So I think, well, okay, Ralph, we go with this. Let's see what happens here. And Fred gave a little bit of extra energy where he can make those runs, get forward, which Pogba really wants to get the ball, head up, and have the play in front of him, that kind of thing. Fred's willing to do those extra runs, and that's what happened there. I think if I'm going back to the goal, I have it somewhere here. Yeah, Bruno. So with the pitch, this is what I really liked about Bruno. But minutes earlier, he played a long pass. He had his head up, played a long pass. The wind, the pitch, everything just didn't go anywhere. Forward pass. And this time, he got the ball, got into their half. Someone done the overlap, and then Ronaldo was shown to feet. So he played it into feet. Obviously, it's not going to go beyond him. You're not going to play a ball on the ground going beyond someone. It might slow up on the pitch. Played it into feet. Obviously, Ronaldo played a wicked first-time move pass with a guy on his back. And then I think it was Bruno. No, played it to Fred. Fred played it to Sancho, and then he made the overlap run. And Sancho, this is what I like about his game, which Rashford needs to improve, is bringing people in, hold it up. They were scared of Sancho. He's going to go left or right. A couple of times, when he stands up people. He held it up, and Fred made that run, and what a good finish, in the top corner. So I'm really happy for Fred. I'm sure we're missing one person on this show today, and that would be Solo. Solo, if you're out there, I don't know, you can have your own show on this, going through the goal. You can go have a little tactical breakdown and talk about how wonderful that goal was. That would be in your highlights. Maybe produce a DVD for everybody to review, because that was magnificent from Fred, and he really did play well. And most of all, more importantly, Ralph made the right changes at the right time at 62 minutes or 65 minutes. A bit early, but upon reflection, it's the right thing to do. So big up to Ralph Rangnick.
Because that's something you saw with Ollie, wasn't it? He wasn't making substitutes, or he'd always leave it till the 80th minute where it's too late.
Yeah, good observation.
You need to make substitutes at the right time, and that's the difference between Ralph and Ollie, I think.
Absolutely. So 3-2 down, and the game is kind of sitting on a bit of a knife edge. It could go either way, and then obviously coming up towards the end of the game, the insurance goal happens. Elanga gets his goal. 4-2. But rather than focusing on the goal, where I want to go with this now is who you thought was the most impactful player for Leeds today, where you'd like to see some improvement, and how the rest of the season is going to pan out for you, because obviously we've not played you twice, so we won't be seeing you again this season.
Yeah, I have to say it was Rafinha who came on to make a bit that difference, because I think we were lacking a little bit when we were not having it. I think we're starting Harrison and James. I think Harrison was not at his best because he was trying to be a bit more on the wide out, but he couldn't get the final ball into the stick out area as much. So Rafinha made a bit of a mini difference. I think where we are struggling at the moment is two of the issues we have. Is one is our center, with Junior Firpo. I think he's one who had played a part of conceding those goals to you guys. He had played a bit of a part. I think Llorente as well could have been a little bit better. He could have been a lot more better with his set pieces. I think that's where it cost ourselves a game. So, and especially because our subs as well. Yes, it was the right time to do it second half, but if we had more, I think we could have done it. Because our players got tired, we just lost a bit of the edge towards the end of the game.
Yeah, I agree. Junior Firpo coming on for Click. I mean, he played a part in our goals going forward, but he also played a part in your goals, where him tracking back, because a couple of your goals came on the counter attack, I think, and he just didn't look like he wanted to get back at all. He looked lazy going back, whether that's because he's still not up to fitness because he's had so many injuries and has had COVID twice, I think. So that's going to play a massive part. I think for us, Rafinha, obviously, he's going to be a difference maker with the type of player he is. Matthijs Klick, for me, was a highlight player. He had a couple of good chances. But yeah, we struggled. It's the counter-attacks again. It's been the story of our season, losing it on the counter-attacks.
And of course, it doesn't get any easier for you with your next game being against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, we had this in December. I think we had a period where it was Man United, Chelsea, City, Arsenal all in a row. We've got Liverpool on Tuesday or Wednesday and then Tottenham at the weekend. After that, they start to ease up a bit and we should have Phillips back and Liam Cooper back. So hopefully that will make a difference. But yeah, not going to be very easy on Tuesday.
I got to sanitize bad times coming to small, but and put it to you. Do you think that Bielsa's tactics are now actually affecting you negatively?
Well, would you have said that last season when we had a full squad? That's the difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's the injuries that have caused us to be where we are. When we were up in 11th, 10th, 9th position, playing exactly the same way, no one said a thing.
No, but you're now saying it now because we you're not thinking about all that injuries that we've had, from the start of the season. I think when we did play Phillips the first game against you lot, he was still, but he came back about 2 pounds, a little bit 2 pounds heavier. So that's why he didn't get to play in that game. So what match fitness and at that moment, it's just because of the injuries. It's not about the tactics. It's just been the injuries we've had of our key players that makes that formation that we have.
Absolutely. And I suppose, building off that, now we have talked about your most impactful player, and I'm going to talk about briefly before I pass it over to Monday, my most impactful player today. And Canners, if you're watching, how are you doing over there in the Armory TV? He had some views about our boy Jadon Sancho, and he was saying that Pepe was a more value for money player than Jadon Sancho. But today he seemed to cause you a headache on the pitch. He got 2 assists. If Elanga had put away the ball that he gave him in the second half, that would have been 3 assists. He was a thorn in your sides, I think, and probably worthy of a man of the match performance today, given the impact he had on the game.
Yeah, he is a dangerous player. He's quick. He's got the skills. He can unbalance the defense really well. And a team like us who struggle defending on the counter attack, it was made for him, I think.
On Monday, do you want to come in?
Yeah, all right. So I agree with you. I like Sancho today. He's really good. Like I said, when he squares people up, you're in trouble. You just have to back off. Don't dive in because he's going to beat you like that, And obviously his intelligence as well to bring players in. Obviously with the goal, we saw that. Another 2 players I just quickly want to mention from Man United impressed me today. I think McTominay had a good game. As Mr. B always says, games like Burnley are perfect McTominay. Rough and tumble rugby sort of games. If you understand what he's meaning by that, it just means McTominay gets around the park and put it in. And there's your 2 guests were saying as well. Maybe he could have been sent off, or had someone said in the comments he had 17 yellow cards, could have had easily. But I thought Tommy done well today with his energy. There's one time he made a run, a forward run. Bruno tried to bring him in, and I thought, okay, that's impressive. But what I was really wanting to see today was a bit more compactness, and I think he was compact, even though sometimes when he did go ahead of the ball, Pogba would drop in as well. So the midfield three as a unit, just as a unit, played well with McTominay doing okay in that role as well. And I suppose we needed it. I picked Matic the other day to play. I would have preferred Matic, I said. But judging by the game today and the condition and everything else, I thought McTominay done really well. So I'm wrong there. And also, I also want to say I was wrong about, not just say wrong, when I say about, like I said earlier, about Maguire, I thought Maguire had a decent game today, but I thought his partner, Lindelof, played really well today as well. He done his interceptions were good, timing, tackles, read the game, really, in charge there. And he does everything smooth. He's got a nice sort of haircut. He never seems ruffled. He comes up a bit, doesn't seem to sweat. I like that about centre-backs when they're like that. And I think him and Varane are very similar. Obviously, the difference may be in quality, but very similar players, quick, not imposing, big 6'4", broken nose, sort of old Steve Bruce looking guys, But they're quick, they're modern, and the only thing that everyone was saying about Lindelof last season is that sometimes he gets caught out with headers. If you look at the goal against Villarreal in the final last year, ball came over, and I thought Lindelof really should have dealt with that, when Villarreal scored from a free kick. And it's that kind of thing. That's my example I always give about Lindelof, those sort of things. Whereas Maguire is stronger in that area. But overall, Lindelof played really well today. Like obviously with the assist as well, or kind of assist when he raided into their half. Really comfortable on the ball, and it's not easy raiding with the ball like that when you got ball when there's a waterlogged pitch. You know what I mean? So he's really good. He really played well today. So those two players and the midfield three in the first half played really well.
Absolutely. I suppose there's two comments that I just caught my eye. First of all, Battime wants to know, do you think that Sancho is the last airbender, that he was able to harness the power of the wind?
Well, we say that, but then if you look at the same ends, they scored a goal, which was wind-aided as well. So slap in your face, right back at you. There was a wind issue.
And just actually, before I take the second point to you, a very big welcome to Farkar Zaman. I think it's the first time I've seen you in the channel, so very welcome. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button to let you know when we go live. You're very welcome to the United Agenda family. And I suppose the second part, actually, Monday, that you did mention when you were talking about Lindelof is his link play today was actually outstanding.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I say, with the 1-2, the passing for the goal, obviously with Sancho, it's just a give and go, isn't it? It's just a basic give and go. And that's what's really important. Simple things like that we like to see from defenders. You don't want defenders doing step overs and trying to, think they're Beckenbauer. Someone mentioned Beckenbauer earlier. Beckenbauer was like, he never done that. Beckenbauer was a give and go sort of guy and team player like that. He would break it in by pop, 1-2 and go, that sort of thing. So as a defender, it's not what I think gives you an advantage. What we see sometimes, we had it with Villa against us. Tyrone Ming raided into our box and they scored. We had it early in the season. I can't remember who it was against. Harry Maguire raided into the opposition blocks. We scored. So people are set up. They're not expecting centre backs to be that extra man raiding in to the opposition half. So it's good to see that when they do, because suddenly it's like, oh my God, the space is opened up. And sometimes you say, he's centre back, let him come, But as Lindelof, you have to be mindful because he is a good player on the ball. Even so good. Some people, some fans, and some people, fans of Man United, and some people in the comments, and some people even on our panel even say he should play as a DM. That's how good he is on the ball. So, yeah, I have to give it up to him. He played really well today.
Okay, so we have gone through the nuts and bolts of the game, but I want to give our Leeds guests the last say on matters. I suppose where they think that they're going to finish this season, and obviously where we can find them. So, Carl, let's go to you first.
Oh, it's going to be a tough one. I think after yesterday's results with Burnley, Norwich and Watford getting good results, I didn't even Newcastle well. It is interesting now what we to do, how we can do. Realistically, we need 4 wins, but it's going to be tough. We're not going to get against Spurs or Liverpool because we know that they have got the better the resources than our players. We can't match up to them bit by bit. But it's just the games that we have coming towards the end of the season where we play against most of the bottom half of the teams. It's the critical ones we need to really pick up the results now because, I think that is it. Because after Everton losing yesterday to Southampton, which was very surprising, we just have to we have to be very cautious now where we go after the 2 games against certain clubs. And look, I know people in the comments are saying this and that about Dan Jays, but listen. We've got the squad we had. That squad is named as a champion squad. The core of that squad is a champion squad. You can't change nothing within a season trying to rebuild everything. It doesn't work like that. You see pro teams, they have to take the time to build Premier League quality players. It is not as simple as that. Go and spend money, So we've just come from a second tier, which is where you don't get the best finances to come in the Premier League to try to establish ourselves again on and off the pitch. So I don't know why people are saying, some of your squad. We've just got a championship squad at the moment, and that is that for the time being. But maybe if we do stay up or not this summer, I think it'll be interesting if we do invest. So that is my say on that one.
Yeah, I mean, with the investment thing, you see what happens with Norwich when they come up and completely change their squad with investment. It doesn't work. If you buy a whole new squad, you're going to take time for them to gel and adapt, and to do that in the Premier League, it's a really difficult task. So it's a slow process, slowly bringing in 2 players, taking out 2 players, that kind of thing. We've seen that the last couple of seasons, but yeah, we do need some investment, and if we do stay up, we'll get the Premier League pay package again, and hopefully we will make some changes.
Absolutely. I suppose that actually made a lot of sense to me as well, what you're saying about you can't overwrite a whole squad, because I think we saw it a bit with Villa at the start of this season. They had so many new cooks that the broth was a bit spoiled and they weren't getting the tune that they wanted out of them. So it makes perfect sense that you can't just bring in 5-6 top quality players and expect them all to gel instantly. But I suppose, Connor, Carl, let people know where they can follow along with you, because obviously we won't see you till next season again, hopefully, in your case. But let people know where they can follow your content.
So I am at Connor Pratchett on Twitter and Instagram, and on YouTube I am simply Connor Pratchett.
I am Carl Levy on Twitter, and also I am on the LH Football Pod as well on Twitter, as well as Facebook, as well as and YouTube and other podcasts and podcast services.
Thank you.
Big up, guys. Big up. Before we go, do you want to say about Bruno's bit of skill when the ball's played into him? He had a man on his back and just over the top and led to the goal with Elanga. That was really beautiful. Sorry, I'm not trying to rub it in, but it was.
No.
That piece of skill, guys, was something else. Yeah. I don't know, man. I like Bruno a lot, and we see the good and bad of his. Like earlier, we were talking about maybe going down for your goal, not shielding the ball properly, or not getting a foul. But then at the other end of the pitch, you saw something really quality. So I'm really happy with that piece of skill. I'm going to try that on training on Wednesday. So guys, be ready. Don't tell anyone.
Well, everyone, that has been Manchester United versus Leeds, or actually in this case Leeds United versus Manchester United. It ended in a 2-4 victory for Manchester United. We have been the Man United Agenda. I want to thank Connor and Carl for taking the time in these difficult circumstances, for coming on the channel and breaking down the game as they saw it. But from us in the United Agenda, it's a very good evening, and have a blessed end to your weekend.